Good afternoon. Bonjour. We are a significant step closer to passing needed changes to the medical assistance in dying regime by the court's deadline of March 26th. I'm not a fan of closure, but in the face of obstructionist tactics by the Conservatives, we had to do what is right for Canadians. J'aimerais remercier le Bloc québécois pour leur appui aujourd'hui. Contrairement à Aaron O'Toole, notre gouvernement a écouté les Canadiens, les Québécois et leurs tribunaux sur l'aide médicale à mourir. Nous avons eu le temps de débattre et il est maintenant temps d'agir. Je l'ai souvent répété, si nous n'adoptons pas cette loi à temps, c'est les Québécois surtout qui seront les plus affectés. Pas de garantie, pas de nouvelles protections pour les plus vulnérables. Nous ne pouvons pas accepter ça. This critical piece of legislation has been well debated. A total of 139 members of this place have spoken for close to 45 hours on C7. And that does not even include the debate in the Senate. Still, the Conservatives say they wanted more debate, and we listened to them. What did they do? They shut down motions last week to extend debate for 3 days in a row. They were not trying to make C7 better. They were trying to block it outright. They say they want to protect the vulnerable, but dismiss the impacts of doing nothing on those very populations. L'obstruction des conservateurs sur l'aide médicale à mourir n'est pas nouvelle, mais s'inscrit dans une tendance plus large et très inquiétante. Que ce soit en bloquant une augmentation de 1 200 $ pour les familles qui bénéficient de l'allocation canadienne pour enfants, ou en s'opposant à notre projet de loi sur l'environnement, sur la carboneutralité, Aaron O'Toole et ses troupes continuent de mettre la partisanerie au-dessus des Canadiens. Les Québécois et les Canadiens s'attendent à ce que nous agissons. Je suis impatiente de voter et de faire progresser le projet de loi C7. At this moment, there are Canadians and Quebecers who are suffering while waiting for us to make these changes to medical assistance in dying. This legislative journey is nearly complete. I look forward to the Senate receiving our reply and for C7 to receive royal assent. Canadians are expecting us to get the job done, and indeed they're expecting us to move on to the next steps. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
We will now proceed with the question period. Nous allons maintenant procéder à la période de questions. One question, one follow-up. Une question de suivi. Opératrice, avons-nous une première question?
Thank you. Merci. Please press star 1 at this time if you have a question. Veuillez s'il vous plaît appuyer sur étoile 1 maintenant pour poser une question. You may cancel your question at any time by pressing star 2. Vous pouvez à tout moment annuler votre question en appuyant sur les touches étoile 2. The first question is from. La première question est de l'inaudible de la presse canadienne. Please go ahead. À vous la parole.
Oui, bonjour, M. Lametti. Maintenant, c'est assuré, ça va retourner au Sénat, mais vous n'avez pas de garantie au Sénat. Alors, si les sénateurs décident de réexaminer la nouvelle version que vous leur offrez, ça vous laisse où?
Merci pour la question, Mme Dib. Nous allons franchir cette étape le cas échéant, mais je suis assez confiante que le Sénat va accepter les modifications et ainsi que les parties de leurs suggestions qu'on a acceptées. On a bien travaillé avec le Sénat jusqu'ici et donc j'ai beaucoup de confiance que ça va passer dans le Sénat. Thank you very much for that question. We'll see when we get there. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But I'm pretty confident that the Senate will look at the modifications that we have proposed to their amendments, as well as the amendments that we have accepted, and they will, I think, accept this motion as we have presented it. I'm fairly confident they will do that.
Et cette confiance, vous la basez sur quoi exactement? Je sais que vous vous êtes allé leur parler en comité à quelques reprises, mais ils sont quand même allés assez loin dans leurs amendements, alors je ne comprends pas tout à fait pourquoi vous êtes convaincu qu'ils vont plier.
Dès le début, j'ai travaillé avec mes collègues dans la Chambre des communes à travers les partis et j'ai travaillé avec le Sénat dès le début. Encore une fois, à travers les partis. Je n'étais pas toujours d'accord avec tous et chacun, mais je dois vous dire qu'il y a vraiment un sentiment de bonne foi dans le Sénat d'améliorer le projet de loi. Et donc, je suis confiant, basé sur mes conversations, qu'ils vont accepter la motion qu'on j'espère, va passer plus tard ce soir. Et qu'on va procéder à les prochaines étapes.
Opératrice, une deuxième question.
Thank you. Merci. The next question is from, la prochaine question est de Ryan Tumulty from National Post. Please go ahead. À vous la parole.
Yeah, sir, I'm wondering about the provision around mental health. I know the bill, as you proposed it going to the Senate, gives you a 2-year period. Are you concerned, though, that this potentially leaves that out of your hands if the parliamentarians or the expert panel can't come to some sort of reasonable standard or disagree strongly that the provision against mental health as the sole reason for medically assisted death would expire?
Look, thank you for that question. It's an important question. I certainly feel moving forward that we can get to a solution. We're parliamentarians. We will act reasonably. We will use the expert committee for its expertise. And there's a latent degree of expertise both in the House of Commons and the Senate, as well as with the witnesses that each of those bodies will hear. And the Joint Committee before that will analyze all of these various questions in a great degree of detail, as is necessary. I'm confident that we'll get to a solution. Remember that we're working within the context of a framework from the Carter decision, in which a person moving towards a decision on assisted dying will have to be in a grievous state of irreversible decline and be suffering grievously. So I'm confident that we will work within those parameters and that all parliamentarians in both houses will roll up their sleeves and will work with experts and hear the voices in the community in order to have a regime that is balanced, that will have a regime that respects the choice of Canadians, but also protects the vulnerable and makes sure that we understand and treat medical illness with the seriousness that it deserves.
Yeah, and sir, I'm just wondering, do you have any specific provisions that you think have to be part of that discussion around, and part of the provisions around medically assisted death for someone who is mentally ill?
Well, as I've stated in previous speeches, there are a number of concerns that we will need to address. And in particular, just making sure that as I have stated with mental illness, we have to distinguish which cases where there's a possibility of improvement, when the symptom of perhaps wanting to die is part of the condition itself. All of those things I've cited in previous speeches. Obviously, we'll have to look at that, plus anything else that both experts and other people in society, other experts in society, feel we need to look at in order to treat mental illness with the seriousness it deserves as an illness and respectfully as an illness, all the time protecting the rights of Canadians to make autonomous decisions in this area.
Thank you. We'll now go in the room.
Hi, Minister. Chris Reynolds, Canadian Press. You point out the degree of debate that has gone on around this bill and other bills over the past few weeks and longer. But the amendments brought on by the Senate have not really undergone extensive debate in the House itself. So is it actually reasonable to suggest that there's obstruction of this bill when those specific amendments have not been debated at length? Absolutely.
As I mentioned in my prepared notes, we tried to put this bill in front of the House of Commons. My Conservative Justice Minister said in the New Brunswick paper that he was willing to extend debate in order to discuss this motion. But when it came down to his party voting for it, where was the leadership? They voted 3 times to not extend debate when they had the opportunity. And if you heard the comments today on the closure motion, you heard a number of arguments that have already been repeated that had nothing to do with the Senate amendments. So this was a pure and simple case of obstruction. At every step along the way, if you go back and look at the record, you'll see the members of the Conservative Party obstructing this bill, not because they want to make it better, not because they want to improve it, not because they want to seriously debate any aspect of the bill, but because they want to shut it down. It's that simple.
When it comes to the blanket ban in relation to people who are suffering solely from mental illness and that 2-year ban, are there other models abroad that you are looking to for a little bit of guidance? For example, Switzerland on this point or on others that you might refer Canadians to as a possible beacon?
Well, I think the answer there is to let the committee do its work and let the expert committee do its work. I'm sure they will look at all of those things. We certainly thought about those things in our deliberations on Bill C7. We decided at the outset to not include it because more work was needed. What we've now done in this with this set of amendments and accepting the Senate amendments is give a timeline to those deliberations, which were always going to happen in any event.
Thank you. Opératrice, dans votre téléphone, avez-vous une autre question?
Thank you. Merci. The next question is from. La prochaine question est de Hélène Buzetti de l'Écoop de l'information. Please go ahead. À vous la parole.
Oui, bonjour, Monsieur Lametti. J'aimerais juste prendre un pas de recul par rapport au vote de ce soir. Dans quelle mesure êtes-vous confiant que ça va passer? Je sais que du côté conservateur, on laissait planer la rumeur qu'il y avait peut-être des gens, des députés libéraux qui n'étaient pas super chauds à l'idée de l'amendement là, sur la santé mentale.
Merci pour la question, Madame Buzetti. C'est une question très difficile, profondément morale. Et évidemment, il y a des opinions divergentes. On va procéder avec un vote libre. On l'avait dit dès le début et on va le faire aujourd'hui. On l'a fait déjà pour la motion que nous venons de passer. Donc, moi, je suis très, très confiant qu'on va procéder dès ce soir avec une motion au Sénat. Et donc, espérons que nous pouvons arriver à la fin de cette étape sous peu et bien avant la date limite de la Cour supérieure.
Et je vous pose une question de suivi de procédure, mais aujourd'hui, le chef du NPD nous a dit qu'il voterait contre. Et dans sa tête à lui, c'est pas comme s'il votait contre le projet de loi, il votait seulement contre l'amendement sénatorial. Alors, est-ce que c'est effectivement le cas? Est-ce qu'on peut juste rejeter ce soir l'amendement sénatorial tout en continuant à endosser le projet de loi? Merci.
Mais vous allez comprendre, Mme Buzetti, que je ne vais pas me mettre dans la tête de M. Singh. C'est à lui d'expliquer à ses partisans pourquoi il a voté contre quelque chose que je sais la plupart des personnes qui appuient l'NPD sont pour. Donc, je vais laisser la place à lui pour s'expliquer.
Merci, opératrice. Une autre question.
Once again, please press star 1 if you have a question. De nouveau, n'hésitez pas à appuyer sur étoile 1 pour toute question. Nous n'avons plus de questions pour le moment. There is no further questions registered at this time.
Thank you. This concludes the press conference. Merci.
Merci à vous tous. Thank you.